have a look. Wow, it looks like it might even be working. Oh yes, it's clear. Okay, here we go. Oh my god, is this actually working? Is anyone actually there? Oh Jesus, hell, my god. Please bear with me. It's been an extremely hyper stressful day. Okay. Alright, so necessary. Can you see the stage? Okay. Alright. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Can you see me okay? Over in the studio? Can you hear me okay? Oh dear, that's all wrong. Okay. It's buffering a little, yep, understandable. Okay, so there's a lot of very serious chaos and confusion going on here, which again is what we all expected because today is flipping time for Mercury. And here we go. Yeah, it's buffering really badly. Again, no surprises. So, give it a second. Yeah, alright, so. Okay, it is the 6th of August. Okay, and Mercury is already flipped retrograde. So we're right at the crisis point for the flipping, so that's normal. And I'm feeling it very strongly here, which is, again, nothing unusual. What's happened is that I've been having so many problems with YouTube in terms of, let's say, finding a reason to keep going on YouTube because of everything that you know about that's happened to my channel on YouTube. And so, as you also know, I've been exploring a little bit with Rumble as the alternative to YouTube. I'm not going to kill off my YouTube. It's just that I don't feel safe here anymore, and I feel like I can't be myself here anymore without horrible things happening. There's all sorts of channels that I love that are getting attacked in very nefarious ways by the YouTube algorithm and the system and all of that. And that's because they are who they are and they do what they want to do. And they have certain criteria, protocols for what is acceptable or not acceptable on YouTube. Like if I had a channel that was all about how to successfully pop a zit or how to remove blackheads and different treatment mechanisms for zits and blackheads, I could probably grow to millions in a few weeks. But that's not what we do here. So I'm glad you enjoy my humor. What we do here is tends to be bagged into that stuff that mainstream media labels as hardcore, let's say, radical extremist stuff. Personally, I think of myself as just a very ordinary person with some common sense, and I'm observing a lot of insanity. And I would like to live in a world where common sense is reflected back to me from the world outside. We all know that the world is in a very crazy place right now. Pretty much every mainstream media, every secondary, every alternative, every radical left wing, every radical right wing, they're all in an agreement that there's something wrong with the other side. They're horrible people. Oh no, they're the horrible people. Your reality is wrong, my reality is right. Oh no, your reality is wrong, my reality is right. And it gets very, very confusing. And what I'm noticing is some of the channels that I like that are big and successful, they're getting knocked around by YouTube, and the channels have a lot vested in the success of their channel continuing. So what they have started doing is censoring themselves and restraining their communications in such a way that I'm kind of losing interest in working with those channels, because I'm not learning anything. I'm not learning anything that I can't figure out myself very quickly and easily. So it's like, well, what's the point of going there? So anyway, I've been here for a couple of hours trying to configure everything so that I can essentially replicate what we do here over on the Rumble platform. And I have done live streams on Rumble, and I've done a few recordings. Hello, Victor. Hi. And I've had to use their very simple streaming in-house system to get it up and running. But it's a very limited, let's say, toolbox or a vehicle for streaming. For example, on my YouTube channel, I use about 5 or 6 multiple softwares running simultaneously that all have to be controlled simultaneously, and then lock that into YouTube to do what we do. And I've been trying to do the same configurations on Rumble, and their avenue to get from where I am here to where I want to be there is proving to be very, very confusing to me. I know they mean well, and I can see what they're trying to do in order to help people like myself. And they have little frequently asked questions sections and help sections and guidelines and, protocols to set everything up. But it doesn't, so far, it's a very, let's say, it's not a very user-friendly platform from what I'm discovering, because this is my first day trying to do major full-on live streaming on Rumble, and it's just been 2 hours of technical chaos going back and forth through their systems. And so I had to take a break because I wanted to do some live stuff anyway. Yes, Redacted is still going live, but their channel is blessed. You have to understand that YouTube blesses channels or curses channels. One channel that I used to like a lot has been, let's say, punished and slapped around. Punished and slapped around. Oh, hi, Victor. What? Well, that's actually what I'm coming up to in a little bit, Victor. I want to get to that, but I need to release some super high stress energy at the moment, and I'm trying to explain what it is, where it's coming from. And it's working. By being able to share here, I can decompress a little bit. So, I've been doing this for years, and you would think I should be able to just dial it in. And you would think, how when you go out and buy, we rent a car. Let's say you go out and rent a car because you want to do a road trip, and your own car is too vulnerable to do anything besides puttering around locally. So you rent a nice vehicle, you blow a bit of money. You get in the vehicle, It has a steering wheel. It usually has signals for left and right, headlights on, headlights off, main beams, low beams, and it has your wiper and wiper speed controls, and perhaps some screen squirts over here, and then maybe luxurious things like radio and phone controls and cruise controls and everything like that. Those are very, very standardized settings pretty much for almost all modern cars. Then, of course, you have a transmission, which is mostly a stick in your right hand, which goes dunk 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 or dunk dunk dunk. They call it the Prindle stick. PRNDL. Park, reverse, neutral, drive, low. It's the Prindle stick. And that's pretty uniform. Then you have the dashboard. That's fairly uniform. Then you have the gas pedal. That's uniform. The brake pedal. That's uniform. And that's about it. Everything else is cosmetic or ergonomics, you know. So what I'm finding out is that even though Rumble is trying to be like the little brother of YouTube, and Rumble has some really awesome content and some really good channels, it still seems to be very young and very new and clumsy. And everything that you would imagine would be like a rental car. In other words, I would just take everything I do on YouTube and move it over, dunk, just plug it in to Rumble. It's like getting out of your putt-putt car, leave it in the car park, get into the rental car, and drive away. Just a couple of things. Clickety-click, drive away. It's not working. It's not working at all. It's a completely different operating system with absolutely no parity or comparables to YouTube. Deep in the technology, there's some similarities, but the navigations and the pathways to get functional are dysfunctional. So it's going to take quite a lot of random trial and error until I can get settled at Rumble. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, hopefully by the full moon. We'll see. We just started Mercury retrograde today on the dot, and everything is accordingly. Yeah! Especially with telecommunications. Oh! And I knew this all going in. I was expecting things to be a little bumpy. I was hoping things would be literally like migrate from here to here. YouTube to Rumble. Click, go, live. Hello, everybody. It's not working. So anyway, let's get back and kind of do what we do. Thank you for your patience. I'm very, very shaky and nervous at the moment. Let's have a look. I've got some charts here. I'm going to just put this little chart aside for a moment. And we'll start over here. I'm just going to do today's Astro Doodle, so bear with me. It's like going back to the beginning. Okie dokie, so bear with me. And we will get something lined up here, then we can get on with things, okay? Let's have a look. All right. All right, here we go. Yeah, electronics, of course. Yes. Thank you, Victor. So, the planets and the transits right now happen to be, I would say, stressful or hyper stressful for my own personal astrology. I think I'm doing an extremely good job of dealing with it. And I wish I could do better. But anyway, I haven't had much sleep. I've been very, very jittery. Of course, I blame it on the planets. On the other hand, I think I'm doing really well considering the transits that we're having right now. I'm very aware of all the global headlines. You know, we go over this often enough. I'm not going to do any readings at the moment right now. I don't know if I could. I don't know. Anyway, so just want to kind of go over a few basics like we do in order to just stabilize. The United States is in very, very deep trouble right now. Very, very deep trouble. We've talked about it many times. There's the left, there's the right, there's the Pluto crisis point, there's the Neptune crisis point, there's the Uranus crisis point building up. The whole world is watching because directly or indirectly, what happens in the United States in the next few months is going to have huge ripple effects across the world. A lot of people won't know, won't care. It'll just be like, oh, some things feel a bit different now. Some people are very, very concerned, people like myself. There are a lot of things that are in extreme hyper jeopardy right now in the United States, things of extreme value that are highly at risk of being dissolved, stolen, without our overt permission. However, it's happening with covert permission. I feel that Americans, a lot of Americans in general, are not aware of their good fortune. They are not aware of the extreme value of this thing. And they take it all for granted. Like over here. A very, very, very solid housing shelter environment. Beauty, serenity, all the amenities, indoor plumbing, indoor heating and cooling, privacy, all the functions, you know, the internet. I got a smartphone and a tablet. I got multiple softwares, and I got a little studio set up and everything. We got transportation. We have steady supplies of gasoline and food and telecommunications. A lot of that stuff is now in extreme jeopardy. People are starting to notice a little bit, obviously, oh, gasoline prices, crazy. Oh, food disruptions, that's very, very weird. Like up in Canada recently, this food co-op that deals with millions and millions of dollars of produce from Canadian West Coast fruit farmers, that, what do they call it? Co-op was suddenly shut down. I don't think it just suddenly shut down because it thought, no, we don't want to do this anymore. I believe they were heavily coerced and heavily paid by some very, very deep state, highly toxic activists who paid the co-op enormous amounts of money to shut down and walk away without any notice to the co-op members. The side effect to the co-op members is that millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of amazing, beautiful produce has got nowhere to go and nothing to do. It can't move from where it is without going through this co-op, because the co-op basically took care of everything. The buying, the selling, retail, wholesale, logistics, all of it, packaging, everything. And it's just gone. That's just one tiny example. Exploding railway trains, millions of cows being culled, millions of chickens being culled, millions of pigs, turkeys. Infrastructure being destroyed from within. We already know, if you track what I track, we already know that there are some extremely dangerous, very active enemies within. These are the sleeper cells that are now being activated. Sleeper cells from China, Russia, Iran in particular. Those categories. Basically, people who hate America, but they want everything that we have. We know about this. We know all about that. That's happening live right now. We're being invaded from the north and from the south. Airplanes from the east and the west, from all over the world. It's all heavily orchestrated by the global elites, because that's what they want. They want annihilation of population. They want this demonic control, power, and money over the whole planet. And the people who do remain are basically subject to being controlled debt slaves, debt farm entities. Okay? Hello, Sarah. I'm sorry about the ad interruptions. I don't really have control over it. Even if I demonetize the video, the ads will run anyway because YouTube will use this video to place ads and collect ad revenue, but I won't see anything. So I am very, very frightened right now about what's happening in England, because I used to live there and I have a very, very deep, warm, soft spot for England, the British, Great Britain, the British Isles, England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. I've traveled all over there. I lived a lot of different places there. It's tiny. You know, it's probably got a land mass the equivalent of maybe almost California. They probably got about 62 million people there, so it's pretty crowded. It's very, very old. It's usually cold all year round, or very cold. And if it's not raining, it's just about to rain. When it is sunny, it's absolutely beautiful. But right now, England is heading towards civil war. I don't see another way to describe it. There's a population of migrants, immigrants, and now permanent residents that have a certain culture that is very, very different to the British culture. And they have basically infiltrated the whole country, the economy, politics, and everything. And in the traditional sense of migrants and migration, of people wanting to go someplace where they have refuge, you become so grateful that you adopt the culture of the place where you're moving and living, and you show an attitude of gratitude, and you integrate with the culture, and you love that. What's happening is exactly the opposite. There's the local Brits, and then there's the other culture. And it's turning into a very vicious war. And the war is being fed. Hold on, what's happening? Something to my channel. Looks like my channel is being bombarded or something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't have any control over it. Some sort of glitches. So over in England right now, things are getting it's all over the whole country. Almost every city and a lot of smaller towns are being affected by these civil riots and unrests. between the natives and the immigrants. And what has happened is that the immigrants have basically taken over, and they're being aided and appeased by the elites, the political system, because they allowed this to happen and they can't stop it anymore. In fact, they are enabling it. The local British natives are accusing the British government and the British police and civil defense systems of being traitors to their own country, because the immigrant population is being given priority, complete, absolute priority, and the natural, I would say, natural-born citizens are being demonized. That's happening because the British allowed that to happen. They allowed it to happen, whether they like it or know it or not. They allowed it to happen. And now they're suffering. Something very, very similar is happening in the United States. It's on a much, much bigger scale, but it is not as developed, and it has moved ahead in a different kind of, it's morphed in a different type of way, but the essence is the same. The people who are coming here, especially certain groups affiliated with very un-American cultures, they want to be here. But the thing is, they don't want to integrate. They don't want to become American. They don't want anything to do with this. They want to destroy this, literally rip it up, put it into a state of oblivion like it never existed, and then they want to take over. They want our land, our water, our natural resources, and they want all our freedom and everything that we get from this, but instead of earning it, they're taking it. And we, the people, have allowed this to happen, and we are allowing it to happen. To me, it's very terrifying. I'm absolutely, my guts are rumbling because we're seeing it happen live, real time. I know I'll be okay because in some ways I'm kind of insulated from all of it. But there are certain people who are not. Let me see if I can find what something. Love Triber sent me something earlier which was very disturbing. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna read a little bit of this to you. So please bear with. Let me see if I can actually do this. All right, this is something that is now circulating throughout the United States to literally any physically able-bodied male and some women. And it's a letter that's basically a new fancy form of the draft. The idea is to recruit and sign up millions of young warriors to basically fatten up an American fighting force. The scary part is that it's not really going to be an American fighting force. It's something completely alien. I'm going to read through it. The front page is very, very simple. And you can actually, if you want to, if you have another device handy, like a phone or a tablet or another tab on your computer, if you have the ability, what you can do right now is go to sss.gov and you'll see it. In the meantime, I am going to read it. This is called the Selective Service System. It's an official website of the United States government. It's brand new, well, pretty new. And what it is, here's the front page storyline. It basically, I'm probably going to embellish it a little bit, but basically here it's like this. Hey everybody, it's your country. Take 1 minute to protect it. When you register with the Selective Service, you're helping ensure a secure future for your community and the United States of America. While there is currently no draft, registration with the Selective Service system is the most publicly visible program during peacetime ever that ensures operational readiness in a fair and equitable manner. If SSS is authorized by the President and Congress, our agency, the sss.gov, would rapidly provide personnel to the Department of Defense. In other words, the military-industrial complex. In other words, war. While, at the same time, providing an alternative service program for conscientious objectors. Conscientious objectors, perhaps they can learn how to, peel potatoes or cook corn or serve in the buffet or do helicopter maintenance or something. Under this program, federal law requires that nearly every male U.S. citizen and male immigrant 18 through 25 register with the Selective Service. Okay, that's all I'm going to read on that. Give me a second, I'll read right back with you in a moment. Alrighty, give me a second. I'm just juggling multiple softwares and stuff. Bear with me, please be patient. I'm really on the edge of my abilities at the moment. Okay, that's good. We managed that. Okay, so I don't know if, yeah, that's it. Hello, Robin. So that's going on right now here in America. Something very, very similar is happening over Western Europe as well. In other words, the global elites are getting what they want. They are pushing. They want war. They want big war. Follow the money, honey. Follow the globalist plan. Go to the World Economic Forum and read about their plans for the rest of the world and how it works for them at your expense. It's very, very disturbing. Billions of dollars being spent by our government with our taxpayers to fund the enemies and turn them into enemies within. We have a lot of enemies without, classically, typically, sadly, doesn't have to be this way, but sadly, Russia. There's a lot of beauty in Russia. Same thing with Iran. Same thing with China. Same thing with North Korea. Same thing with Libya, a lot of, Algeria, Egypt. It's really sad. It's really, really scary. They're all ganging up. And they're trying to create basically a new world order. And it's understandable if you follow a Pluto cycle. The order is basically falling apart. It's the end of a Pluto cycle. It's a very, very, very important Pluto cycle. Hey, Electra Ray. There's so many sick, disturbing things going on. It's becoming very nauseating and offensive and shocking. The fact that any of this exists at all, I find extremely disturbing. And to me, it only indicates a decay, rot, filth, fungus, mold, black mold, psychic, physical, mental, spiritual cancer. lack of maintenance, lack of appropriate health care. In America, we have a healthcare system that's designed to keep you sick. What use are you to the medical industrial complex, the healthcare industrial complex, if you're healthy? Okay, if you own a gym, maybe those people would benefit, but hospitals and doctors, they go out of business when they have healthy people. Nothing to do, nothing to sell. So many layers of craziness. It's happening all over the world. Let me just go to the charts. You want me to go to the charts? Might as well do it now that we're here. So this is the little astrodoodle for today. The moon has already moved well into Virgo over here. Soon the moon is going to be up here. That's going to be very, very nasty. Well, it's very nasty right now. So all of this over here represents the enemy within, the invisible enemy. The enemy that is extremely hard to define, diagnose, disable. And over here is the Virgo energy of cleanup, the cleanup campaign. Clean up on aisle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to infinity. How are we going to clean up the sickness of the world? The people at the top, the elites, represented by negative Pluto in Capricorn, 29 degrees, they are basically the global elites, okay. They want total absolute power, money, and control. You know, if you look at the pyramid of power for the whole world, but at the very top there's those select individuals, corporations, governments, banks, bankers, and all of that. And then all the way down through the politics, the mainstream media, the retail banking system, day-to-day communications, commerce and trade at the local level, down to just we the people. It's a massive pyramid. All the wealth and the power in reality is down here at the foundation. The elites don't like that because they don't have any of their own. They get their wealth and money and power by taking it from us. Okay? It's very, very elaborate, extremely successful operation that they run, and the primary purveyor is the United States Federal Reserve Bank and the banking system, global banking system. It's a mechanism for harvesting energy. I'm going to lead into the subject of money, even though this doesn't look obviously connected to money right now, but we are still dealing with major global financial crises. Okay, Uranus is still here in Taurus. It's high 20 degrees. There's nothing else around it. It's actually in pretty harmonious energy with Pluto and Neptune. And what this indicates to me is that the global elites are hunkering down deep into their financial global infrastructure to keep it and maintain it as much as they can, as big as they can, using their standard operating systems of fraud, deception, lies, betrayal, and so on and so on. So this is very, very powerful right now, and you might have noticed that. However, you might have also noticed that there are some very severe cracks in the system. The system. Their system. And eventually those cracks will turn into massive crevasses, and eventually tectonic plates that are going to move away or apart or over each other or something like that. Hold on, I'm just seeing some notes. Oh, TL going better than that. Oh, you've already looked at sss.gov? Well, it is not an absolute law yet, but they're acting as though it is law. letters are being sent out to millions and millions of male people in America, migrants especially male migrants. They are receiving letters basically telling them, sign this document, send it back in this envelope. In other words, it's like assuming the sale when you're an auto used car dealer. Just sign this, ma'am. We'll worry about the rest later. Okay, sign that. Okay. So it's like, in other words, the SSS will go to the federal government and say, well, look, we've already got millions and millions of signatures. We might as well just authorize the SSS.gov, and you've got an instant army of millions of people. And then the federal government goes, yeah, you know what, let's just do this. Let's just do this on Friday night with closed door meetings inside Congress, and by Monday morning it'll be ratified, and then bammo. We now have a massive military composed of sleeper cells and domestic terrorists. Do you see the plan here? Anyway, so there's this thing going here which is extremely advantageous, and it's allowing the global elites to keep their schemes going while they can. So that's what they're doing. Meantime, in the background, we the people are figuring out that there's something very, 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 very wrong here. This is an indication that at the depths of the soul of humanity, there is something extremely wrong, and it isn't being held into accountability. We are going to define it. You've got to reveal it to heal it. And so we're dealing with the great revealing right now. Mars and Jupiter are almost conjunct, forming a very hard square to Saturn in Pisces retrograde. That's this thing. So that's why we're seeing so much revealing of the disgusting stuff going on. In other words, like in America, how the Secret Service is supposed to protect, the president. It turns out that, I'm scared to say it. No, what have I got to lose? Who cares? It's actually a deep state organization designed to take out DJT. Okay? That's the truth. That is the truth. You're not allowed to know that, of course. You're not allowed to believe that, of course. So the mainstream media is trying to cover it up. And there's all the other stuff happening in Washington as well. Now, on top of that, we got this massive triple duty whammo thing going on here with Venus, Mercury, and Moon in Virgo. It's fast moving, so this is going to change. And I'm feeling so scared right now, like to even talk about it. But somebody has to talk about this, okay? I posted a little microscopic YouTube short video last night because I couldn't sleep, and I pointed out a few things. So I'm going to point them out here again, okay? Greetings. We just had the Leo new moon, okay? Mercury is flipping retrograde as we speak. It's already flipped, and I'm already feeling all of it very acutely. Again, to be expected. In other words, to me, this is just like a roadmap, and I'm just trying to navigate through here. Maybe I could go like to get through alive. Everyone else will have their own version of it. So I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing all these little mini charts flashing through my head. What the hell is going on? What's happening? Please, dear invisible friends, show me what I need to know, because I know I need to know something, but I don't know it. And so lo and behold, after one of my wake-ups, I realized, I know what it is. And I pulled up my ephemeris, and I followed my intuition, and there it is. I don't know if you can see it. We already talked about this, okay? Here's the whole of August. Here's Mercury retrograde. Here's a major crisis point in the middle of the month. Secondary, tertiary crises points throughout the month here, here, and of course all of this here with Neptune and Pluto, and all of Saturn here, of course. I didn't mark it because it's just such a mess already. But if you look closely, Mars 17 degrees, Jupiter 17 degrees, Saturn 17 degrees, Venus 17 degrees on the date of the 17th. And I went, what? So I thought I better make a mini astrodoodle. And this is what my mini astrodoodle looks like. On the 17th, Mars and Jupiter will be conjoined in a super hyper stressful T-square. Extremely precise, hyper stressful T-square of accountability. And with Venus here, in other words, what we're seeing here is an extremely toxic situation across the world that is being held accountable by Saturn. And people are realizing a lot of it is to do with relationships. Who do you believe? Who do you not believe? Relationships is represented over here in Venus, in Virgo. This is the house of when you do an opposition like this, wherever it might be, you could think of it as a marriage dynamic. Oppositions always can refer to marriage dynamics, for example. On the one side, it's the enemy within, the hidden enemy. On the other side, it's open enemies. Over here in the 7th house, I'm not going to dwell on it much, but this is the house of marriage. Venus rules Libra over here. The reason they call the 7th house the house of open enemies is because once people formally decide to get married, they often discover things about themselves and each other that they never knew before they were married. And then they realize it's just me and you, honey, or it's you and me, honey, and there's nowhere else to go, there's nowhere else to hide. In other words, it's open enemies. What often happens is we see the worst in each other, and the other sees the worst in us. It's inevitable, it comes out, and there's nowhere to hide. The 12th house here is the house of enemies, hidden enemies. So it's like, oh my God, across the whole world, we have some very, very, very sick relationships with people who are very, very, let's say, married to the dynamics of sickness and disease. And that's causing the problems for the whole world, okay? Mars is extremely amplified. It's like Mars in Gemini is it's kind of hyperactive energy already. But when you add Jupiter, it's like taking a standard stock dragster. You know dragsters, those cars that go extremely fast for like a quarter of a mile. And instead of just feeding it off alcohol fuel or regular gasoline, you feed it off either gasoline or alcohol with nitro. And so it takes a 1,000 horsepower motor and it turns it into a 2,000 horsepower motor. Of course, those motors don't last very long. They have to rebuild them every 2 or 3 races, but it's an extremely, it's like rocket fuel, okay? So you put this energy over here. Mars is in a very, very unhappy position here, stuck right in the middle of this T-square. And my feeling is that it's not going to have any other means of open expression besides violence. Which leads me to the subject of this. Which leads me to the links between what I'm seeing here 2 weeks from now and what we're seeing here today. There's so much violence erupting across our planet right now. And when you go deep into it, a lot of this is, let's say, staged, planned, desirous. There are certain, I guess, groups of elites who've been salivating, waiting for this moment for Iran to go absolutely berserk, ballistic onto Israel. Israel is basically like a proxy for the United States. So that will suck everything into war here, suck everything to war over here. This is already happening. Billions and billions of taxpayer dollars over here basically being sent to our enemies over here in Iran, over here. I mean, it's a setup. And our current administration over here is enabling the setup for this. Of course, they're going to tell you, oh, that's the worst thing. It's never going to happen. Don't be silly. What they're enabling this. The current administration is trying to get this to happen as soon as possible, as big as possible, as nasty as possible, so that they can have a legitimate excuse to declare a national emergency where we need SSS.gov right now. We need martial law right now. We need the military in the streets right now. We need the National Guard in the streets right now to stave off the civil events happening here, which could lead to this. Okay, it's BS. They actually want this. They're trying to foment this into reality, okay? So that's what I'm sensing, and it makes me very uneasy, extremely uneasy, very jittery and uneasy. Even though, like, you know how I like to blame it on the planets? Okay, now that I've had this little mini revelation, I keep thinking, okay, well, you know, it's good to know in advance, so there's less chance you'll be caught off guard. So what I'm doing, you know, Victor, we talked about timing earlier. This is very much about timing here. Now, I don't really know what it's going to look like, but I have a feeling at this particular stress point here on the global scale, it's going to be a point. There's going to be a point of fracturing, because it's very, very hard for humanity to maintain this much stress without cracking. Okay, and when people crack and they have no other means of expression or protection, they turn to the energy of Mars. Okay? Whether it's defensive or offensive, kind of doesn't matter. Anyway, there's astronomical instability right now. Volatility in the markets. So I want to move on to another thing about the global markets. Victor, you've probably already figured this stuff out. I just want to make a couple of doodles here. Let me see if I can do this. How am I going to do this? Let's just do it very, very crude, very, very simple. Time. 2024. 2022. 2020. 2018. And so on and so on and so on back over to here. And this is dollars of global liquidity. In other words, not just American liquidity, not just American M2, but global M2, which I think they call it M3. Anyway, I don't really know, but don't quote me. So we were talking about this the other day. The Federal Reserve banking system has a beautiful game that they play with interest rates and issuance of currency that creates what looks like this. And then we had the big bug number 19 over here, created chaos. It gave a green light for them to expand their plan dramatically. And then there was a big crisis, and then they went, but now they're way up here. Okay? Now, over here, like if we get really tight in over here, we just had this. Okay? This just happened in the global markets, okay? Over the last few days. This is already stabilizing, but this wiped out trillions of dollars on global markets, okay? A lot of people were wiped out. A lot of traders got wiped out. Billions, trillions of dollars. Banks, countries, if they made the wrong trades and wrong bets. There was issues here. Issues here. But what happens is that there's a 4-year cycle. 18, 16 over here, and so on. And everything is realigning itself. And so this global liquidity is, let me just kind of do it like this. Maybe I can do it lightweight. If you put this chart on top of the same time frame in charts for the Dow, the S&P, the DXY, and the NASDAQ, those are all major indices and major index funds, okay? Which is all to do with BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, Blackstone, Fidelity, and all of that crowd. There's a very, very close correlation between the success and outcome of these entities and this, and it looks more or less like this. Do you see why index funds are preferred? In other words, it's idiot proof if you know what you're doing. The only problem is you have to be aware of these, because this is where the elites make a lot of money, okay? They stage these events so that they could crash markets, destroy retail investors and mid to upper level banks, and wait for the roadkill. This over here, this point here represents today, where there's a lot of roadkill right now. And then the big BlackRock, Blackstone, blah, 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 the Fed, especially the Fed, they go in and buy all the debt and assets, roadkill prices, and then kaboom. So, if you watch some of the guys that I watch, because it's not the end of the world yet, watch what happens. Now, as you know, I've been talking about it, and a lot of people are talking about it, how this is going to turn into a doomsday scenario. And I believe it will at some point, but I don't believe we're there yet. So what I believe is happening is something like this. So we're going to just carry on, okay? Okay, so there's 24, 26, 28, and so on. So there's time over here, time and global liquidity. Global liquidity is basically all the money printing. You know, forget about interest rates, just think of the money printing. So let's do this. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think my doodle's going to look like? Well, so the question mark is, that's the smartest guys that I know with money are projecting this, and they've already placed huge bets on this, and they're already winning. Okay? This is a 4-year cycle here. So, it makes you kind of wonder, why didn't anybody tell me? Well, it's because they don't want you to know. This is their game run by themselves for their benefit at your expense. Because when they do these things here, the markets, these become very appealing. And then the retail investors start to throw their money in and think, I'm going to be rich. And then they look at it, gets up to here, I'm rich. And maybe some of them are smart. They know this, and then they cash out and they wait for blood. And then they start to buy again and buy again. Every time this happens, in fact, if you want to, every time you get a little the really, really good, effective people that I know, they know how to play this game better than the Fed. So, anyway, I just wanted to mention this. I guess I should connect this black line to here, and then this one to here. So, again, timing. It's not going to be on this chart. It's going to be on my Astrodoodle. Regarding timing, at some point, this is all going to implode. I don't think we're there yet. I think the implosion point is going to come when Uranus is in Taurus at 29.5 degrees. Uranus goes retrograde for the rest of the year. Okay? So, look at it this way. August, very, very bumpy, extremely volatile. And then, kaboom, September. Poof! Uranus goes retrograde. Okay? Retrograde Uranus in Taurus. Market chaos. Market chaos, which is, again, a golden opportunity for some people. But it gets so far into retrograde that in the rest of this year, Uranus and Taurus will never reach the crisis point. So the real crisis point is going to be more like in 2025. And I do not have my ephemeris yet for 2025. If I had all the expensive software, I could probably figure it out. But I have to do things the old-fashioned way. So I'm trying to give you folks a heads up here. If you want a calendar moment, if you want in terms of market timing, the people, even the very, very, very smartest ones that I know, they're very hesitant about timing the market. But certain things are very clear patterns. There's another pattern I'm going to show you. In case you're into crypto, especially Bitcoin, it's the 4-year chart. And if you like Raoul Pal, for example, again, I'm going to just do it like this. This is very, very crude. Every 4 years. 4, 8, 12, 16, and so on. So, we get this kind of like Bitcoin price. It's a very regular pattern. Now this chart is very, very compressed, and it's, I guess you could say adjusted, but this is BTC price over here. So with this thing that's happening right now, you probably noticed that Bitcoin is roughly here. We're roughly here in the cycle for Bitcoin right now. And it's been bouncing up and down here. Oh, 50,000, 60,000. Oh, the oil was 30. Whoa, up to 70,000. Woohoo! Okay, now remember, the way this chart is written, it's designed to show you the peaks and the troughs. In fact, over time, it's much more like this. So it looks more like higher highs and lower lows, that kind of thing. Sorry, higher highs and higher lows. Higher highs, higher lows. Higher highs, higher lows, and so on. But if you take just the dynamic, it looks like this. So what Raoul Paul and Mark Moss are indicating is that we are about here right now. So if you're really into Bitcoin, with everything down at 50,000 right now, 55,000 or whatever it is, 55K, this is an incredible time to buy. And then anyway, I can't do these things. You have to have serious resources to do these things. I don't have all of that stuff. So I'm going to wrap it up for now. I hope this little doodle made sense to people. Hope you get something out of it. The guys I know are playing this game. Okay? They're quite a lot younger than me, and so they have time on their side to do these things. And they've already figured these things out. They're very, very smart with money and all of that stuff. So anyway, if you find this useful, great. I'm going to put this over here. Of course, we'll keep an eye on this over the next couple of weeks. But this is going to become fierce, okay? Very, very unstable. And, you know, I would mark your calendars for the 17th. Give or take a few days, because something's going to happen. Very, very, I don't know, big, significant, scary, money, war, I don't know. Okay? Actually, let me just, I'll put a question mark here, because I don't really know. But I'm just making a couple of pointers here. This would be August, this would be 17th, August 2024. So I'll leave this with you. I'll leave you with this. Might want to just, you know, observe. I hope you don't get sucked into anything scary. But that looks very scary to me. Alright, I'm going to get out of here. I don't want to scare people. I'm scaring myself enough. Alright, so let's check out, folks. And I'm going to make this probably short and sweet, you know. Okay.